All right, so I've realized it's been like a year since I gave an update on my layout. A lot has changed with it, and then it's been sitting here. So let's get into it. All right, so you all remember this layout. This is my first layout built on a 4x8 sheet. I'll say the reason why I haven't really played with it lately or for a while is, for one, I was kind of getting a little bored with it. Mainly because the backside, the track really got messed up. When I built this, I didn't build it right. I used too small of a plywood. So right now it's sitting on another, and excuse the mess of wires and everything. I just did work to it the other day. Sitting on another layout that I built, or that I bought rather, and then I destroyed. So it's just sitting on top of that to kind of give it a little structure so I could get underneath it. But I would constantly have derailing issues back there and that sort of stuff, and to move it out of the way and back into it was just too much. So, plus I like, drinking coffee in the morning, drinking beer at night, just watching the train go by on the oval, which is basically all I was doing with it, which is fun, but yeah. So I wanted to kind of move on to bigger and better things, but in the meantime, I did do a lot of work to this. It used to be, obviously, when I started, just like everybody else, it was DC. Now I have the option of going DC or DCC by a little two-way or three-way switch there, on, off, on. Right now I don't have DC hooked up. I've just got my DCC, which I use the MCE Power Cab. I found that this one is pretty reliable, pretty easy. When I did go DCC, I started out with the Digitrax, and that was a good system, but this one here, I just feel like there's a little bit more flexibility. And so when you first saw it, or last saw it rather, that building was there. I had an Arby's over here, and I may have had a dog food factory there. All three of those buildings were from Menards, which is a regional kind of Midwest, kind of like not a Home Depot, but kind of like a rough man's Walmart, let's say. They're great products, but they really aren't user friendly when you're doing a bigger layout. And I decided that was going to be the only one that I kept on here. The rest of it all came from different places. The house, the butcher, and the toy store, the sign, and the, I can't remember what that is. It's U.S. Army, I think. They all came from Hobbytown. The abandoned farm back there, these two buildings, these three buildings, and that building came from a train show. And then that one I found online. Of course, that's the Ghostbusters Ecto House, which I didn't build quite right, but hey, it's on there. And this was on there too. I just lit that. That's the yard office. So I did do a lot to this one, and I do like it. I do miss playing with it. Obviously added street lights, yard lights. I even added a flashing amber light there, but I ended up shorting it out somehow. So I've got another one I need to replace it with. But this has been a good little layout. Of course, it's got the double track back there, so it's got a little passing or run around, and then it does run off the end. So it could technically be added to another layout or a larger layout. I've just recently added these flashing lights found on Amazon. Unfortunately, they don't work together. They say it's a set, but a set comes with one light, one board, and then I added the batteries just so they work. Tried hooking them both up to one. I got a second one, obviously. Tried hooking up both of them to the one power battery. Didn't have enough. I don't know if I use a different, like an actual DC power supply, if there would be enough and it would work. Kind of hoping so, but temporarily, for as much as I use it, 2 batteries is fine. So, of course, I have my, what one is that one? That one is Intermountain Farm Rail, which is one of the ones I really kind of love. They've done good on that. It's got some great sound. and it's runner. It has no problem doing its deal. Of course, if I come over here, I've got all my DCCs, which didn't take long to collect. That was the first one there, the BC Rail. That's a Bowser. That was the first one I got, and that's what started the, no, I'm going over to DCC. So, of course, I was going to model Burlington Northern as my main road name, I guess. And then it ended up blossoming into, I think I got that as a DC, which I've made to DCC now. And so BNSF became my big thing, and then I ended up getting a couple of, Santa Fe's, and that worked out. And then I ended up getting a CSX here and there, and then Norfolk Southern became my next big one. And so, yeah, Scale Trains Rivet Counter, most of them, because I just have that OCD that it needs to have the best of the best. As you can see, there's a lot more detail. This one's the operator class, which works. It's a great little locomotive, but it's lacking a lot of the detail. This is another operator compared to, all these that have all the roof details and that sort of stuff. They're just a lot better design. Of course, then I got the G tester, and then I ended up getting the Scale Trains promotional, just for the craps and giggles of it. So, yeah, so that's that part. So, basically, like I said, I'll say that I got bored with this layout, and I had the hankering to build again. That was my biggest thing, is there was not much more that I could do to this one. And so I wanted to build another one. That's where we enter my second layout. Now, this one here is a switching layout. And it is actually going to be part of a bigger layout when I get the room upstairs. I got a room upstairs that has light bars, my other original addiction, and they will be going into a different place eventually. And then this will move upstairs. Right now this is in the living room, and it shouldn't be, but it wasn't planned to be. But the wife's been okay with it so far, so. But anyways, but it does have the track that runs off of both ends, so it will be able to be linked up to bigger and better. And so this one again is DCC, run off an NCE power cab. Again, just a good little system. I built this one. There is a track plan that's very similar to it, but it didn't really work out for me, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So I just kind of modified it, tweaked it here and there, and it's worked out pretty well for what I'm doing. I'm trying to keep the rest of the room out of the shot, just because this building also had a lot to play into it. A nice little engine house that, again, I got at a train show, and I wanted to use it so bad, and because it's an awesome building. It looks great. I've got lights inside of it now, so that helps. So that really kind of started this layout, and then I got a Walthers kit. This is a Rix, R-I-X, I think it is, kit. Can't remember. That was one that I found at a train museum that I was able to build, and then that's a Walthers kit as well. So let me just mute him for a minute. Great little locomotive, Great Northern from Rapido. I got the Christmas mystery box, and I say they are definitely worth the money. I think that's going to be a Christmas tradition now, is getting their Christmas mystery box. But in the box, I also got a remote switch, which has been perfect, because shortly after I built this layout, this switch broke. And it is a Picos, and from what I understand, Picos will replace it if you send it in, but I did not want to pull it apart because I would never get it to look the same again. So I ended up getting the switch, and it's been perfect because I got the little throw switch here, and I can just go back and forth. So I'm going to update the entire layout with replacing, well, not replacing, but installing them, because I have these little finger throws here like that, which work great, keeps them in line, but it just works so much nicer and better being able to just throw the trigger from here. I also have one Atlas light. It was the setup or the startup kit, and it's great because it can cycle through the lights with the flip of a switch, and it goes like 8 seconds on the yellow, and then it goes to red. And then I can switch it back to or green, and then I can switch it back to red. You can wire a whole bunch of these up together, as well as they do work in blocks. You can get little sensors and that sort of stuff. So from what I understand, it can do like a full layout. So I think I'm going to do a full layout with those as well. So yeah, this is what I've been working on for the last little while. Built that one there. This wall here should be on the back side, but it, of course, they give you the options, and everybody kit bashers, so I don't consider that a kit bash, but I just modified it so it brings the building out, gives a little bit more of a natural look. This is like I said, Wix highway overpass. It's actually 2 because it went 150 foot, so it goes from like right here to back to here, I think it is. And so I ended up having to add on some more. These 3 vehicles here, I found at a fire and police flea market, actually, and I had to get those because me and flashing lights and everything. So I just wired those up the other day. I got the wires, had to drill a hole, and I got the wires underneath in between the girders. So I like that little setup. I think that looks good. Of course, I got some graffiti on it, which shout out to, where is it there, Hobo Shoestring. It's not going to focus, is it? Hobo Shoestring. Good YouTuber on here, pretty cool guy. I'd say go and find him. Got a little bit of a wetlands back there with some old abandoned vehicles. Most of the vehicles on here, that's from Rapido. The van, these 4 here are not HO scale. They are Hot Wheels. But I needed something, and I don't like the cheap, and I don't want old. I want new. So those work well enough. They're close enough. So, of course, I've got the mill back there as one industry with its own little spur line. I've got the cross dock here. Trucks on the other side. So I got the cross dock for another industry. And then this here I built, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it, but I ended up, at first it was like a lumber yard where I brought in some center beams. Most of the time it is for the junk yard. Of course, I got the little cherry picker here, as well, I want to build maybe some tanks and get some hoses. I've put some tank cars on here, so that's always an option as well. But yeah, I have a lot of fun on this one. That I just painted some cardboard or some paper, just because I had all my tour posters on the wall, and really kind of took away from the realism. And then I also added a temporary tape light on here, just because I wanted some daylight to come down instead of our room lights and the windows behind me. So it usually does. You can't really tell during the day, but during the night when it gets darker, it does help out. And I mean, it does even help now because this should be casting a huge ass shadow that way. So yeah, I think when I get to building the next one or the rest of this one, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to try to maybe document it, make some videos on laying down the track and everything, and track planning right from the start. And we'll see. I don't really get the view hits on these videos. I just figured I'd update just because I'm kind of bored. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But until then, I'm going to sign off. And you know what? If you haven't, I don't usually like asking for subscriptions, but feel free to subscribe. Give it a like, hit the notification, all the stuff that everybody says. If you don't want to, you don't want to. All right. Bye. Before I go, let me know if you would be interested in watching some operating videos. I've got some clips that are about 1 minute, 2 minute long of just doing some op sessions, switching industries, or even just rail fanning the original oval. So I could always throw those up if there's enough interest in them. So let me know down below in the comments.